The hot topic of the hour, Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro set to face justice in an American courtroom today in New York City after the unprecedented action taken by President Trump and his administration early in the morning Saturday. Maduro and his wife seized and extracted from their palace in Caracas in what's being called Operation Absolute Resolve, where the American military and CIA partners struck the Venezuelan capital, arrested both in the middle of the night, both facing federal drug trafficking charges, narco-terrorism charges, when they are arraigned this afternoon in New York City at noon. The president's action causing widespread celebration from Venezuelans around the world, cheering the end of the decades-long oppression under the Maduro regime. President Trump told the nation the United States will temporarily take over Venezuela and its oil reserves until a peaceful transition of power can take place. Watch.
The oil business in Venezuela has been a bust. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. The embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied.
Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, saying this morning, we invite the United States government to collaborate with us on an agenda of cooperation oriented towards shared development within the framework of international law to strengthen lasting community coexistence. I spoke with Chevron CEO Mike Wirth last May, and we talked about Venezuela. Here's what he said about running operations potentially in Venezuela and the national security implications. Watch. I know that you have been the last major American outpost in Venezuela and has operated in country for over 100 years. But, of course, President Trump is basically saying no more Venezuela. What do you want to tell us about this Venezuela situation?
There's two real implications, I think, that are important for people to consider. One is on energy security. A good portion of Venezuelan oil has historically come to the United States. Refineries on the Gulf Coast are designed to run that specific type of oil, and so it's very important for energy security in the U.S. The changes in the rules mean that that oil won't flow to the U.S. now, so making us less secure. Venezuelan government officials have been in China very recently, encouraging China to buy more, and so as the largest buyer today, the policies could drive even more of that trade to China. The second implication is very important, I think, is a national security implication. We're the only American company that remains on the ground in Venezuela, which sits right across the Gulf of America from our country. And if we were to leave, as others have, the oil production continues and American companies are replaced by companies from other countries. And historically, that's been Chinese companies, Russian companies, and others that are not necessarily in America's interests.
Right now, as you heard, Chevron is the only American company on the ground in Venezuela. Let's take a look at the stock this morning in the pre-market. Chevron shares right now up almost 8%. Liz Peek, weigh in here. The audacity, the swiftness, and the success once again on full display of the Trump administration with this move. Next question, of course, what does the short and long-term situation look like? Your reaction?
My first reaction was that this was just utterly brilliant, Maria. Once again, Trump has put our geopolitical enemies on their back foot, and particularly Cuba, Iran, China, all the bad guys are looking at this and saying, oh, my gosh, what are we going to do next? Because Cuba, indeed, may fail. I mean, this is a country in big trouble. China needs this oil. So does Russia. And frankly, the brilliance also is keeping the vice president for the moment in place. This is not wholesale regime change, Maria. This is getting rid of a really bad criminal who was indicted. By the way, a year ago, Joe Biden's administration put an extra $25 million bounty on his head. So for Democrats to be whinging about the fate of Nicolas Maduro is absolutely laughable. Everybody wanted this guy gone. And during his regime, 80% of the economy evaporated. Oil production went from about 3 million barrels a day to under 1 million barrels a day. Complete catastrophe. So this is such a win for Venezuela, a win for the United States. And I love the fact that I was literally reading just about when this announcement came out, a piece about how is President Trump a lame duck president? So wishful thinking, Maria. No, he's not. And I think there's a lot more of the Trump agenda yet to come.
Absolutely. And it's another message that President Trump is not afraid to use unconventional ways to do something to affect change and to put America first. I'm glad you mentioned Iran, Russia, and China, because, Ryan, these are the three countries that have been propping up the Maduro regime. And this is a nice punch in the face to the adversaries out there who are trying to undermine America repeatedly.
Yeah, 100%. I think that seems to be the strategy around the world. It's either our influence or our adversaries like China. I mean, look at it in Saudi Arabia, whether it was our tech stack or China's tech stack. And I think it's the same thing here. It's like if it wasn't us taking over their oil equipment, it could have been, possibly China in a couple years. It could have been Russia. It could have been Iran. So I think in terms of shoring up Western Hemisphere oil security, it's huge. And I mean, I was a little bit surprised this morning, but even Chevron stocks up over 7%. So it tells you the market does believe Donald Trump. And I think that's one thing we've learned as well, is when Donald Trump says he's going to do something, whether it's tariffs or it's going to be taking out Maduro or telling him to leave politely and him not leaving, so him taking him out, I think you have to take Donald Trump at face value, what he says. And I think that's clearly, the bottom line here, what's been the strategy.
Absolutely. The White House put out a picture, I'll say, mess around, find out, which is what we're looking at this morning. Chevron shares are up almost 8%. We're going to be focused on Chevron this morning and what it does for the other oil companies who ultimately will want a piece of that action. Stay with us. Quick break, and we'll be right back.